For the first time since before the election, a White House advisor says the key to saving the U.S. economy lies in stimulus checks and lays out his three-prong approach. Hello and welcome to today's November 27th second stimulus check update and second stimulus package update. All right, Republicans pick up another seat in the House of Representatives from California. Pelosi says it's not her fault so many seats were lost. The representatives should have worked to keep their own seat. U.S. Trade Advisor Peter Navarro of the White House shares the top three areas of stimulus for saving the U.S. economy. Congress is back in session on Monday and will stay in Washington, D.C. for 3 weeks. If you're a subscribed member of my community, then welcome back. And if you're not, consider subscribing right now. Okay, now I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving, or at least found something to be grateful for if you are in the midst of struggle. I saw that many thousands of you wished me and my family a happy Thanksgiving. I wish to echo that back to you, and thank you for your kind words. I didn't have time to go on and answer everyone, or it would have taken my entire holiday. But I appreciate the kind words, and I do hope that you had as best of a holiday as you could. Okay, now regarding stimulus checks and our stimulus package, Peter Navarro of the White House, who is the trade advisor for President Trump, said that another stimulus package must be passed in 2020. He said, we risk losing too many small businesses that will never come back. Now remember, small businesses employ about half the nation. So losing these small businesses is devastating. Not everyone can work at Google or Apple or Tesla, right? He said we need unemployment assistance, pointing out that a large percentage of people will lose their unemployment on December 31st and still need help while getting back into the job market. Navarro said, we need a bridge between now and when vaccines can kick in and we can get back to normal. He said that is where the $1,200 stimulus would really help the people and the country. So Navarro essentially said that we need to support small businesses so that they can stay open. We then need to support the American people that are still getting back into the labor force with unemployment. Lastly, he said that we need to help the people with stimulus checks so that they can pay their bills, be given money to spend, which allows money to flow back into small businesses, right? It ends up being a good circle. Money to spend, it goes into businesses. Businesses can hire and retain employees and make profits and put money back into the economy, right? Now, I haven't said this for several months, but I used to say it every single video, so I'm just going to quote myself. Stimulus to the people is stimulus to the economy. It gives people money to spend, money to catch up on bills, money to get back on their feet. It's also the fastest way to inject money into the U.S. economy. It's much faster than PPP. Now, more money went to PPP, and it's believed that it saved nearly 50 million businesses, but when that money went in, it was prorated to be paid out over many, many months, right? Where with stimulus, the majority of that money was spent in a 30 to 60-day period. With so many people behind on bills now, of course that money would be spent very, very rapidly. And so it would be an excellent way to inject money into the U.S. economy while helping the average person with their financial struggles. Navarro then said, we can see the problem coming. We can see the chasm, right? Like there's this deep ravine that we need to get over. And supporting these areas of the economy will save the economy. Navarro then said the economy needs to reopen because closed economies always hurt those least able to manage their way through a lockdown. The best way would be to reopen while giving financial support. So I'm really grateful to be hearing something coming out of the White House. President Trump, about a week ago, said that Congress needed to get their act together and get stimulus and stimulus checks out to the people. But this is now one of his advisors that he consults with on a daily basis, saying we need to reopen, we need stimulus checks, we need unemployment, we need PPP money. This is how we save the economy, right? So I'm grateful to be hearing that. Now, on the flip side, I don't think Navarro is blind to the fact that over 30 million Americans need rental assistance with over $25 billion in back rent owed. I think he was simply pointing out the three areas of greatest need and greatest influence during the time he was allotted for his 7 or 8 minute interview. There is a second chasm right now. It appears the White House is willing to do a large stimulus package, but Mitch McConnell is still wanting to pass a smaller bill. However, with over $500 billion available from the original CARES Act, McConnell might be persuaded to do a higher bill and include leftover money. That way, Democrats felt like they got their higher number, but they didn't have to issue as much additional debt onto the U.S. Taxpayer, right? So it could end up being a positive thing, having all of this money coming back so that Democrats feel like they won and Republicans felt like they won, but we will see, right? We will know more in the coming week as Congress will be back on Monday, and they are scheduled to be in Washington, D.C. for 3 weeks. This will be the longest that they're in Washington since before the election, so hopefully they can get something done. Okay, now Governor Cuomo received backlash earlier this month when he said he wouldn't distribute a vaccine to citizens of New York because the vaccine was linked to Donald Trump. However, in the last few days, Cuomo admitted he isn't able to distribute the vaccine because the state of New York is unable to meet their financial obligations. In other words, the state of New York has no money and needs to be part of the next stimulus relief bill to fund the government and their ability to take care of their citizens with the vaccine. So New York is in serious trouble because of being in lockdown since March. And this is causing areas of contention among different states. For example, the state of Florida, which chose to reopen several months ago, is furious with states like New York because by reopening, Florida has been able to balance their budget. So there's now bad feelings between different states because of how they responded to the lockdown. President Trump, in a news interview after Thanksgiving remarks to members of the armed forces, said that if Biden is elected by the Electoral College, he will leave the White House on January 20th. He then said he isn't conceding and his suits still need time to run their course. You'll remember that when Al Gore and George Bush had this same issue, it took 37 days to resolve who was the actual president, so that's what he's referencing. The Supreme Court was called into action as Governor Cuomo tried to shut down religious groups from gathering in New York. In a 5-4 outcome, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of religions being able to gather and worship regardless of the fact that a pandemic is going on. Donald Trump pardoned General Michael Flynn. This caused uproar in the affirmative for people that believe General Flynn was a pawn in a conspiracy, while causing the same amount of negative uproar in those that think Trump shouldn't be using his presidential pardoning power. Vaccines could start distribution through Operation Warp Speed in as little as the next 10 days. Carrie from the community said, I read the next stimulus check will be coming to us in the form of Bitcoin. Is this true? And if so, how do we cash a Bitcoin out when it comes? Carrie, this is absolutely not true. The U.S. government is not going to be issuing stimulus checks in the form of Bitcoin. So that is completely false, and wanted to share that with my community. The only thing that there could be some confusion is there is this idea being put forth of something called a Fed coin, which would be the ability for the Federal Reserve in times of emergency to deposit amounts of money into U.S. citizens' bank accounts. But as far as Bitcoin being the next stimulus check, that is completely wrong. Now, Gary from the community said, why did Steve Mnuchin put the $455 billion from the Fed in a general account? Why did he take that money away from the Fed to begin with? So that money was given to the Federal Reserve to help prop up the stock market and lending institutions. But as you can see, the stock market is roaring right now. It's doing really well, and lending programs are also doing really well. So that money was just simply not needed and was brought back. As far as why it went into a general account, from everything I've read, that's just the protocol. So it doesn't look like he did that on purpose, even though I've read that he did. But anyway, I'm just letting you know, from everything I researched, it looks like that was just the proper protocol for money coming back to the Treasury. All right, now I do think that some of that money will make doing a stimulus package deal easier, and we will know more in the next week from Congress, but them being able to access that money that's already been issued as debt makes it easier and more justifiable for doing another one, because they wouldn't have to issue as much debt the second time around, but they would still have a larger package, right? So not having to issue 3.4 trillion of new debt or 2.2 trillion or 1.9 trillion makes it easier for the House and Senate to come together. If they could, say, issue $1 trillion and have over 500 billion, that would be over 1.5 trillion. That's a huge amount of money to do a lot of good for the U.S. economy and its citizens. They could use that money for schools, unemployment, stimulus checks, rent assistance, and on and on and on. It's a large amount of money that they could do something with. Now, if Congress does not pass a stimulus package, this will become the story of how the U.S. government stole Christmas, and it will be a sad story. Congress will be back in office on Monday to discuss the stimulus checks and the stimulus relief package that so many desperately need. This is my update for today. I wish to remind you that you are amazing. I appreciate you being in my community, and I'll see you on the next video.